Morning. So I'd like to get everybody into Virasana, which is this seat. And I know that it's not easy for some of you. So if you have a pillow or a blanket, you can roll up the blanket and just put it behind your knees and kind of find a seat like that. If you need more than one or you need a higher thing, and then if none of that works, you can also sit on a block, but it's not very comfortable. And if all of that fails, just sit comfortably or even on a chair. I wanted to start today with attention to the breath, which we do always, but particular nuance about the breath, tying it in with all the work that we're doing with the chakras and the mudras. And the last three that we've gone over, the latest mudras, are fluidity, harmony, and reassurance. What's very interesting when you dig a little deeper, fluidity is the equivalent of flow, harmony is the equivalent of balance, and reassurance is the equivalent of well-being. And you can't be any of those things. Those things can't happen with a short, shallow, and restricted breath. It can only kind of, permeate your being if your breath is fuller, longer, and deeper. So with that in mind, just place your hands where they're comfortable. If you liked any of the mudras, if they help you in this opening meditation, in this case breathing, just use them. That's what they're for. So we're just going to take 5 breaths with that intention, because now you have a reason. So with the intention of deepening and lengthening your breath, the intention is to open up your vessel, open up your body, open up your lungs to fluidity, harmony, and reassurance. So it turns out to be very simple, but also very complex. So we're going to take 5 breaths here, just the opening 5 breaths. And any of the information that was added can work in the service of accomplishment and achievement. And after the 5 breaths, we're going to take the right hand on the heart, the left hand on the tummy, and continue breathing, aiming your inhale to the right hand and aiming your exhale away from your left hand. So polar opposites, to, from, just adding to that vocabulary and making it broader. So just continue to breathe. Inhale going to the right hand, exhale coming from the left hand. If your body, like my body, likes to kind of rock, and I've learned not to try and restrict it, I kind of go with it, and it's very nice. And one more breath. So bringing the hands onto your lap, we're going to do a nice, easy inhale, cow, exhale, cat, right? Inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale. You're inhaling into the front of your lungs here. You're exhaling into the back of your lungs here. I'm going to do one more. Inhale and exhale. Come back to the center. I'm going to go into the cat. First circles are kind of cranky. So just respect the crankiness rather than reprimand it. and then back the other way. Eventually the whole body starts to join, so don't stand in the way. I think we're going to go back the other way just because if your body's like mine, it was really cranky and it's starting to warm up and perhaps liking this, and then the other way. So you can add your breath, inhale forward, exhale back. Let's do 2 and 1. Nice. Coming back on top of your pelvic floor, feel your spine rise, crown of the head floats away. Take the left hand over to the right knee. You're sitting on a bolster and it's the wrong way. You can actually take that right hand to the edge, the other edge of the bolster, and over to the other side. You can take 3 breaths here. And when we come back, float the arms up. We're going to twist. Exhale to the right. Inhale forward. Exhale to the left. Inhale up. Exhale right. Inhale and left. Inhale. Get into the movement of it, the fluidity of it, the flow of it. 2 more. You might feel it a little lower in your back. It's a really good thing. So the more participation, the better, the more heat. Nice. So here's where I want everybody to grab their block if you don't have it. We're going to sit on the block in Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. And your feet are at a comfortable distance. So there's nothing that we're trying to accomplish here other than keeping the soles of the feet touching, knees easily dropping to the side. Because you're lifted, you probably don't even have to think about the lightness of the upper body. And we're going to bring the fingertips down to the floor and immediately just start lifting and lowering, just for 5. And for 4. And if you remember that sequence that we do lying down, think about the blades sinking down towards the butt. I think that's 5. So the next time we come up, interlock your fingers, turn your palms up, draw the arms back so you feel the tops of your shoulders, and drop those shoulders. Look up at your hands, bring the pinkies towards your face. Inhale, exhale. Bring those hands in front of your heart. Everything rounds but your shoulders. So feel it all the way down to the tailbone. Release the hands, bring them behind the back. Clasp the palms together and squeeze between the shoulder blades. Inhaling and exhaling. Make sure the elbows are soft. You're breathing in the front of your lungs. Release the hands. Bring them up over your head. Turn your palms and back bend. Pay attention to your seat. Breathe in the back of your lungs. Round down to your tailbone without your shoulders. Release the hands. Bring them behind the back. Clasp the palms together. I'm going to try to take a fold here. And use your breath. And love your edge. So as soon as you do hit that edge, release your fingertips, walk them forward, and fold. It's okay if you round in your back here. You may have lost your seat, so make an adjustment. And start to remind your abdominals that are related very clearly to the sacral chakra, right? So as you pull your tummy in, you're actually bringing a lot of attention to that sacral chakra. So we're going to stay here and just take a little walk over to the right, which gives you a little leeway to press into the left butt and wake up that left side. Walk it back to the center and over to the other side. Same thing. You want to pay attention to that right butt and wake up that right side. Come back to the center, and we're gonna hinge it back up, sitting up nice and tall. Twist to the right. So twists are very deep, especially if you use your abdominals. And take it to the other side. And again, it like automatically takes your attention to the sacral chakra, right? So you're starting your twist from below, and then it just corkscrews up. And bringing it back to the center, fingertips out to the side. Walk the right fingertips over to the right. And once you get to your edge, the main action is actually on the left. So you want to press into that left butt and reach through your left fingertips. You'll feel the difference. And you might find that space above the hip below the ribs. And we'll bring it up over to the other side. Same thing. You can even wiggle those fingers. The more you move, the more attention, right? So you're going to aim that right butt down, find space above the hip below the ribs, and bring it back. So let's come off the block, go back into a Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. Fold forward. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, especially if you drop your knees down. But we just want to take 5 breaths here, pull the tummy in, and perhaps you can feel that action, that back to go forward action. So as you pull your tummy in actually towards your buttock bones, you might actually feel your spine going more easily forward. And from that deep Baddha Konasana, we're going to bring it back up, take the right leg out to the side, tuck the left foot in. It's not important how tight this is, so if you have any issues with it, more interested in your right leg and reaching through your heel, finding that corner. Very important corner when we start moving. From the tailbone, fold forward. This is gonna awaken or create signals and messages from very different parts. And all you want to do is pay attention, listen, and use your breath. And just keep reaching through that heel. Tendency is going to be for that foot to think you're not paying attention and looking, and it's just going to go like this. But we want to pay attention to every inch of us. So from here, you're just going to walk your fingertips over to the right. Pay attention, whatever signals you're getting, whatever messages are being sent, hear them and react to them with permission. You take that left hand on the outside of the right foot, leg. So our twists are pretty warmed up now. So we might get a little bit deeper into this. And if you do, perhaps you'll feel that lower back. And then we're going to come back. So bend this right knee, bring it into the arch of your foot. Take an awkward twist to the right. And it's definitely awkward. So if you feel awkward, that's where you should be. And then we're going to swing over to the left. Roll into this hip. So this hip is rolling towards the left inner thigh. If you want to go a little deeper, walk your fingertips around yourself. So we don't want to walk out, we want to walk around. Keep breathing into, it's your hip flexor, it's your quad, it's your psoas. So then we're just going to bring this left hand back a little bit, lift the hips, and just don't let your shoulders pop up, but otherwise, whatever feels good. So much in this feels good. And bring it down. We're going to come back to Baddha Konasana, fold forward. You might feel a lot more space on the left side, which is a good thing. Right side, sorry. Come on up. Left leg out to the side, reach through the heel, sit up nice and tall, fold forward from the tailbone. Pay attention. So energy follows attention. Your body is sending you signals because it wants some of that energy. So it's almost like, listen to me, come over here. And then we're gonna walk it over to the left. Keep reaching through that heel so you're firing up the back of that leg. This might already, or you might feel ready for this to turn into a twist, so you don't have to wait for me. And using your abdominals, bringing you down to the root chakra, actually, and starting the twist from the root chakra. When we come back to neutral, and that left knee, you might have to adjust your seat a little bit here. You want the knee to fit into the arch of your foot, or the arch of your foot wraps around your knee. And take a twist. Lots of twisting. But spring, you know, is for extroverts. And in case you hadn't noticed, twists are very stimulating. So we want to be stimulated in order to come out of the winter sleep and over and roll. And this whole pandemic has extended that winter sleep. And walk around, aiming the left hip towards the right inner thigh. Take a few breaths there, really kind of exaggerating that roll so that you really wake all of this up. You're gonna walk that right hand back, lift your hips up. And again, as long as your shoulders aren't popping up and nothing is screaming at you, really enjoy this. So take it as far as you like. And bring it down. We come right onto our hands and knees for cat and cow. We've kind of planned a lot of flowing for practicing that idea of fluidity. And since we know all of this, the chances of doing it as a flow without too much thought, right? So there's stuff going on in our brains that have nothing to do with thought. And that's an interesting exploration. When we flow, hopefully we can get it into that other area. So with that idea, sit back on your heels first. Rock your hips back and forth. Inhaling, exhaling, paying attention. So we're going to come forward to all fours, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, go right into your cats and cows. And so we're going to start doing it as a flow. We're not going to stop. We're going to move into our sequence. So inhale to your cow, exhale to your cat. Nice pace, doable pace. Exhale, inhale, round into your cat, exhale. Inhale for 4. And 3. I'm sorry. Nice. And this time, so go into your cat. I messed it up. Inhale forward, exhale, sit back on your heels. Inhale forward. And you're just gonna kind of like tap your heels and come forward. Inhale. Tap your heels, exhale. Inhale for 3. For 2. For 1. Back on your heels. We're going to go right into the sequence. So we're going to inhale, come forward and through to upward facing dog. Stay here. 3 breaths. Flip over the toes. Downward facing dog. I'm going to have a wardrobe malfunction. I'm going to take 3 breaths in our plank, waving it forward. 3 breaths back in that dog, just for warm up. Come on down to your knees, to your cow, and back to your heels. Inhale, forward and through. This is going to be 5. Flip over the toes, downward facing. Inhale, wave it forward. Exhale, wave it back. Inhale, down to your knees, open your heart, and exhale back to your child's pose. Inhale. Inhale becomes an exhale. Exhale becomes an inhale. That becomes an exhale. Inhale and exhale. So think about swimming laps. Inhale and making that flip at the ends of the lap, right? One continuous motion. So perhaps that visual will help you get into the flow of this without thinking, because you got this. Wave it forward and really embody that wave motion. It's taking advantage and using all the parts of your body. We're going to do 2. And each time you go through a segment of the sequence, try to make it less thought and more flow. And last, dog, down to your knees and back. And we're going to stay in this dog for 5 breaths. And after the 5th breath, kind of sit back on your heels and let your arms just float down to the mat. I'm going to face you so that you can see me and the variations that we're going to do. So if your breath got a little short, just let it recalibrate. So we're going to give ourselves a hug. I'm going to do right over left, okay? So talk about reassurance and feeling safe and well-being. And notice the breath when you give yourself a hug. We're going to knot those elbows. So some of you are able to do this cow. So those of you who can do it. And let the elbows rise and the shoulders drop. Those of you who can't, you're going to bring fingertips together, press fingertips together, activate underneath your armpits. Those are actual muscles that I'm just trying not to be too technical about. And then isometrically draw the elbows down. And you'll feel that even more. And then you're going to tuck your chin into your throat. So those of you who have done cow arms, been here for a while, but just keep dropping the shoulders. You can also look up at your hands and take a little back bend here. So we're going to release that, and we're going to hug left over right. And those of you who are doing, you can do the hug, but then you're going to do your modified cow and use your breath. Nice. And again, I always like to breathe into the comfort and the safety and the well-being of this shape. Elbows stay knotted, palms come together, and lift the elbows and drop the shoulders, look up at your hands, and those of you who are doing the modification, press your pads of your fingers together, activate underneath your armpits. In addition, drop your shoulders, and then isometrically drop your elbows towards the floor, but don't move them. It's an isometric action. And then drop your chin to your throat. And let it go. So we're going to go back. To child's pose. We're going to go through an upward facing dog, and we're going to flip over or downward facing dog. We're going to take a few breaths here in our dog. So we're going to work out some kinks that might still be there.
Hey, Lynn, I'm taking my virtual.
Right? So the first thing I want you to do is like pedal these feet, especially if you lift the one that's the heel that's coming up. Lift the foot off the mat and you get a really good stretch in your Achilles, and do the same thing on the other side. Okay? So you're going to pedal, but you're going to lift the foot where the heel comes up. So one heel's going down, one heel's going up, the one that's coming up, you're going to lift that foot off.
Not really wide.
I'm going to do one more on each side. So I'm on my left, and now I'm going to do my right. So find your balanced dog, breathe into it, feel the center, feel the triangle, and we can do this one at a time. We're going to lift the right heel of the hand off the floor. If you're able to do this, lift both heels of the hands off the floor, and you'll actually feel the bend into the knuckles, which is a very important action, because when we're doing our dogs and a lot of other things, we want to slide into the knuckles, right? So I'm just giving you a chance to either experiment with this or to actually do it. So we're going to drop the heels of those hands, and we're going to float the right leg up, bring it to the right elbow, and we're going to bring it back, and we're going to bring it forward, and we're going to bring it back. So I'm going to do 3 more of these because I want you guys to be able to do these. They're very, very strengthening. Make sure your elbows are not hyperextended. So I think this is 5. And then we're going to bring that right knee forward again, but we're going to come down to a pigeon. I'm going to turn around so you can actually see more of what I'm doing. But you guys are still in a pigeon, right foot forward, and make any adjustment or use any props that you need. We're going to be here for 5 breaths just to deepen into that right hip fold. And extend that unfold, which you can do by walking your left toes back. Never ever compromising your hips though. So you want your hips to be as square as possible. And we're going to use the breath. So when we come up, take the right knee over to the left side of the mat. We're going to do an IT band. Since we can't do it on the floor, I feel compelled to do this whenever we can. Don't worry about the left leg. It generally doesn't look pretty. And I'm actually not lined up. So you want your heels to line up with the bottom of your buttock bone. This may be enough. Hopefully we've woken up that IT band. If not, take a walk over to the right and use your breath. And again, we're aiming that left hip down towards the inner thigh of the right leg. When we come back to the center, you're going to swing that right leg underneath you so you end up on your tummy in a Sphinx Cobra. Just take about 3 breaths to remind your shoulders what these Cobras are all about. 1 more breath. Going to cross the right hand in front of your chest. No, I'm sorry, the left hand in front of your chest and grab onto that right leg. And everybody's got a different range of motion in this. If you can't grab onto your foot, don't worry about it. Just make sure that your hips are square. I'm guessing that most of you can grab onto that foot. And aim those buttock bones down to the floor. And the most important part of this is literally to release your glutes and engage your abdominals. And you might notice how you can go a little further, especially those of you who have a hard time with this. Make sure your glutes are released or your tush is mushed. And you're using your abdominals. Beautiful. So you're going to see my back here. I'm going to keep that arm there because we're going to roll onto our left side. I'm going to take the top leg, cross it in front with your bent knee. The bottom leg is straight, and you're just going to lift. You can bring the arm up. You can leave the arm here. The idea is to make sure that your shoulder is over your elbow, and we're going to try to wake up this left side. And the only way that happens is if you lift your hips, right? So you want to keep those hips high. And whatever aspect of this you're dealing with, the goal is to feel light as a feather and energy is going up rather than down. 2 more breaths. And when we bring it down, you're going to roll back onto your tummy, sit back onto your heels, use your breath. Now let's not waste any time. We're going to come forward and through, upward facing, flip over the toes, downward facing. Float the left leg up. Open it out if that feels good. Take a couple of breaths here, staying long in your armpits. Those of you who are still practicing 3-legged, just lift it off the floor. So just remember, this is a practice. So it's a work in progress. So we're gonna, for 5 rounds, left knee to left elbow. If 5 is too much for you, find your pigeon whenever you're ready. These are strengthening a lot of different parts, but particularly your arms. And don't hyperextend your elbows, forgot to mention that. And when bring the left knee forward, bring it into a pigeon, and lower yourself down for 5 breaths. We're doing a fold on the left and an unfold on the right. Breathing. And checking in with your hips and your pelvis. And if you don't have anybody to tell you whether you're square or not, it doesn't mean that you can't feel it, right? So when I say there's a fold on the left and an unfold on the right, and then imagine a level tool on your sacrum and the bubbles in the middle, use that imagery because mind actually does respond to matter or to a formal thought. So when we come out of this pigeon, you're going to bring your left knee over to the right side of the mat. Bring the right leg behind you as best you can. Bring your elbows down to the floor. Line the heel up with the bottom of your buttock bone. It's all an approximation. Hopefully, there will be no doubt that your IT band is getting the benefit of this shape. If you want to get more intense or even a deeper relationship here or conversation, and don't forget to aim that right hip bone down towards the left inner thigh. So we're going to come back and bring that left leg underneath so we're on our tummy. Just take a reminder, cobra, Sphinx cobra here. It's not about the Sphinx cobras today, the cobras today. And then we're going to cross the right arm in front of the chest at a comfortable place, grab. So I have to sort of undo my alignment to get hold of my foot. But then I'm going to roll those hips down so that they're evenly aiming towards the floor. Release my glutes, engage my core, which I'm going to have to do over and over again. And breathe into the release and the engagement and the quad. And then check in with your left elbow and make sure it's bent a little bit. And again, everybody's got a different range of motion here, so please love it. And just play around mostly with releasing the glutes and engaging the core. So when we release that, the arm stays where it is. We roll onto the right side. We bring the left foot in front, bent like this. Get ready. And hoist your body up. So again, the trick here is shoulder over elbow, hips stay elevated, right? And use your breath and think up rather than down. Up rather than down. Lifting, kissing the floor. Inhaling, exhaling, light as a feather. Helium balloon. All those beautiful floaty images. Stay here for 2 more breaths if you can. Totally up to you. And then we're going to come down. Roll onto your tummy. And sit back. Rock it back and forth. We did a lot. And in a way, when you rock it back and forth and you use your breath, you're just petting and making nice to those parts of your body that didn't know what hit them, right? But notice that you are paying more attention to more parts of yourself. So we have 1 more craziness to do. And modify, please, if any of this does seem a little crazy and too much for you. So we're going to come forward and through upward facing. We're going to flip over the toes, downward facing. We're going to float that right leg up. And this time, 5 times, we're going to bring the right knee to the left elbow across your body and back to 3-legged. And you know, if you just want to stick with these planks, because the next pose is a little challenging and a little advanced, make that your choice. So here you are with the right knee to the left elbow. You're going to shoot that leg out. That's that IT band shape. Turn on to the back foot. You can literally be on the floor and keep everything light. So keep lifting your hips and opening your heart and kissing the floor and breathing. Light as a feather. And bring it down and step it back to your dog or go to your child's pose. And float that left leg up. We're going to bring it across the body, left knee, right elbow for 5, or for 1, or for 3. Your choice. I think that's 5. And then we're going to bring it back and we're going to shoot it out. I'm going to turn onto the back foot. Make sure the shoulder's over the wrist. If you're in this pose, I don't know who is, who isn't, you can bring this arm overhead and just breathe and think light, hips up. Most important part is hips up. And bring it back. You can come through a dog if you want to, and down to your knees. So that was a lot. I'm going to take a sip of water. Give you guys a chance to assimilate. So after the next breath, turn your toes under, take a little toe bend, stretch, right? Feet are doing a lot. And if you're able to lift your knees, it just takes you a little deeper into that toe bend. And then you could drop those knees and bring hands to the heart for 5 breaths. Shift your heels back and forth. Bring your fingertips down to the mat and lift your knees and walk yourself into a hang. So I want to stay here for 5 breaths. You may not want to, but it really does feel good if you do your abduction here, because we're doing a lot of lower back. We're using our lower back a lot. So press the balls of the big toes down, outer edges of the heels apart. Nice. Beautiful. And then we're going to let it go because you're going to cross your arms and hold on to your elbows. We're going to go into an Utkatasana variation that's also very challenging. So you can modify it whichever way you want, or you can stay in a hang. So we're going to stay here for 3 breaths and let the weight of the head and the weight of the arms help you go a little bit deeper into this fold. Bend those knees and bring the arms up on top of your head for 3 breaths. Use your breath. Bring the arms out to a V. You might notice that now your breath is really deep. You don't even have to try, right? 3 breaths with your hands behind your back, clasping your palms together. Very nice. And release, bring the fingertips down. Take your hang, a few breaths to abduct. And cross your arms the opposite of the way they were just crossed, if you can remember. And then bring those arms up again. 3 breaths here. You have to take my word for it. The more you do these, the easier they get. But they never stop taking your breath away. So your job is to find that breath. Bring the arms behind the back, clasp the palms together. I know you might be cursing me right now, but I'm used to that. Release the fingertips. Fold forward. You might be really deep in that hip fold, and if you are, maybe you're thanking me. And then keep the knees soft to roll up. Woo! So let's enjoy standing. We were quite bent and folded. And actually, just pedal your feet a little bit and let your arms hang and let your shoulders pop up and down, right? Feels really good. And release your glutes. That feels good too. Okay. So let's come to the top of the mat. We're not doing sun salutations, so you'll be happy to know that. There's just so much I can expect you guys to let me do with you. So feet are going to be hips width. I still have to get further away. Or let me fix the computer actually. Make it like that. Yeah, that's good. So feet are hips width apart. Again, it feels so good to stand up. So let's do a little arm circling. So just circle your arms. And I'm not even going to give you any instruction. Just circle. So 5 in one direction. It's the only instruction I'm going to give. And then 5 in the other direction. Right? And then we're going to windmill. So right goes back, left goes back. Like a backstroke. And let your body participate. 5 in one direction. This might be tricky. And then 5 in the other direction. Takes a minute. Ooh, feels good. Inhaling and exhaling. And then take a little bounce, right? Shake it out. And we're going to come back to Tadasana, mountain pose. Take your right foot, turn the toes under, and take a stretch in the front of your foot, right? So your toes are bending the opposite direction that we just did. And this may be quite a revelation in itself, on its face. But then, if you bend your knees, it's a real revelation. But your feet really need it. So I'm intentionally keeping you here for a while to spark your spirit of exploration. So after the next breath, kind of come out of that, but you're going to keep those toes pointed, and you're going to lift the right foot off the floor. And we're just going to stay here for 5 breaths with your hands in Anjali Mudra, the mudra of reverence. Whoops. And play around with that idea that the back foot's the rudder, and if it sways back and forth, so do you. And then, again, up to you. We're trying to bring this with your torso and your leg parallel to the floor. Big challenge on the standing leg. Got to use your concentration, use a drishti. If you're able to bring your arms up alongside your ears, like those chair poses. So now you kind of see why we do these other poses. Now, this is up to you. Try and bring it down to the floor. Make any adjustment that you need to make. And play around with the balance. So you can take one hand off, notice, right? And use blocks if you have blocks. Take the other hand off if you can. Try not to lose that back leg. It's gonna kind of get a little lazy. Keep it active. Use your breath. Very nice. Trying to stay here for 5 breaths. Not working very well for me. So bring the fingertips back down to the floor. We're going to step this right foot back. You can keep it on its own side. Let's step it back into a short Parsvottanasana. That's what this is. And fold forward. It feels really, really good in that left leg. And use your breath. One more breath. So come up onto the toes of the back foot, bend the back knee, lift the toes of the front foot. So we're in a extreme runner stretch. And breathe. And we'll do 2 more breaths. What you're trying to do is extend the left heel away from the left buttock bone. So that kind of changes it a little bit. And keep your hips square. And you're going to drop that left foot, walk it forward, step the right foot next to the left. If taking a hang feels good to you, do that. Soften your knees, use your abdominals to roll up and shake it out. So we have the other side to do. I'm going to turn. Wookie doke. Feet are hips width apart. The left toes turn under. And again, this is always, up to you. It bends the toes in the opposite way than we just did. And then if you want to go a little deeper and stretch a little higher, which means it goes up towards the ankle, bend the knee. And use your breath. And when we come out of this, just shift the weight onto the right and lift the left. So, always up to you. Bring your hands to your heart just for formality's sake and because it looks pretty. But it is also a kind of centering action. And the goal is to bring it torso and leg parallel to the floor. So again, my right side is much more steady than my left. Bring the arms up, whoop, See, as soon as you change or move, that's when it challenges. And we're going to try to stay here for 5. I keep you in these balances for a long period of time because it strengthens the standing leg the longer you stay. And if it's in your practice, to bring your fingertips down, you're going to bring those fingertips down, fold forward, take a stretch. Make sure at some point that you unround your back. Take the right hand on the ankle if that's available to you and switch with the left or try for both. And breathe. So that right leg is getting a real workout. Reaching through the heel. Then we're going to bring those fingertips back down to the floor and you're going to step that left foot back. Find the distance. It's not like a really wide distance. I'd say it's about 3 feet. Yeah, about 3 feet or so. So just take a minute here to check in with your hips. So the more we learn how to square our hips off in all our poses, in the pigeons and in the monkeys, we can easily find that relationship in other poses. So we're going to come way up on the toes of the left foot, bend that knee, and then lift the toes of the right in a runner's stretch. And breathe. So again, one of the main actions, because there's a lot here, extend the right heel away from the right buttock bone. And that may actually square your hips off. Nice. So drop that right foot. Step the left foot next to the right, heels together, toes apart. Ballet squat. Extend the tailbone back, heart forward, and send your SI joint low. If you haven't already, unround your back. And then you're just going to drop onto your butt. So we're going to go into the core portion. This can be challenging, especially in your shoulders and your neck. So if it is, please leave your head on the mat. And if this pose in any way causes you discomfort, we've done a lot of core. So you may have one that speaks to you more than another. So you can kind of, make that choice. If you want to do these, they are challenging. We're going to roll down and bring the knees towards the chest first. And take a couple of breaths here. And roll around on your sacrum, lower back. Might even get some adjustments. So you're going to do 5 in one direction and 5 in the other direction. I'm going to come a little closer. Thank you guys. Oh, hang on, let me do this. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So, with the knees towards the chest, bring your legs in like a tabletop, like a 90-degree angle. And just like as a test, you're going to lift your head up and see if you could bring your hands behind your head. What I usually do is I press my head into the tips of my fingers rather than interlock my fingers, but that's just me. But the idea is when you do press your head into your fingers and your fingers into your head, it releases the tension. So we're going to take those legs up to the ceiling. It doesn't matter if your knees are bent. And I want you to just drop to the point where you feel your lower abs and then lift. I'm going to suggest 10 if that's too much for you. Only do the number you're comfortable with. But this is all to train you to find your lower abs, right? And make sure you pull your tummy in on the exhale. If you're feeling any strain in your neck, please drop your head down to the floor You can still do this. I lost count, so I'm going to say 3 and 2 and 1. Bring the legs back to tabletop. Take a moment to drop your head down to the floor and release your shoulders, your neck, and your head. Another little trick here is keep your gaze to the ceiling, not into your tummy, which is going to be hard to do the next sequence. But still, the idea is to look up and lift up from your heart rather than from your neck and your shoulders, right? So that's a learned action. So we're going to do, you don't have to straighten if you don't want to. If you do, we're going to left elbow to right knee, like so. You don't have to. Let's say 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Whew. Nice. So if your abs joined in, you might actually feel them. And if you do, breathe into them and fan them, right? And just keep yourself pretty comfortable. Make sure you feel the natural curve of the spine. Bring the arms out, level with your shoulders. Knees towards the chest. Drop your knees to the right. Keep your shoulders square. 5 breaths. It's actually the squaredness of the shoulders that really gives you the diagonal that you're looking for, but you also want to contract into your abdominals. And you did just do your obliques, so this should feel really, really good. And bring it back to the center and over to the other side. Three more breaths. Bring it back to the center. Square your shoulders off again. They might have popped up. Feet down on the mat, knees are bent. Lift your, lift your hips, move them over to the left. Cross the left knee over the right knee if you can hook your ankles. And drop the knees over to the right. It's a very intense twist. Make sure you're squaring your shoulders off and you're contracting into your abdominals. But those side planks that we did, all the planks that we did, strengthen your serratus anterior, and now we're lengthening, right? So the magic formula, bring back to the center, is strengthen and lengthen. Hips over to the right, cross the right knee over the left, cross the ankles, and drop your knees over to the left. So if you do feel it like kind of underneath your armpits a little bit, especially if you square your shoulders up and you breathe into your abdominals, those are the serratus anterior. They're like finger-like muscles. And they're so important. And they need to be strengthened. And then they need to be lengthened. And bring it back. And one last twist. It's our fave, I think. Feet out a little wider than the hips. Drop your knees over to the right. Right heel on left knee. Left arm overhead. And square off those shoulders. And a really deep contraction into the abdominals. So when we do a lot of hip folding, which we did, this is wonderful. Feet a little wider than the hips. Drop the knees over to the left. Left heel on right knee. Right arm up overhead. And breathe into the length of it. And one more breath. Come back to the center. Give yourself a moment to let it all sink in. Let it all kind of flow around and marinate. interact and use your breath. And perhaps you're becoming aware of all the messages that you get. So make your way up to a seated position. So we get lots of messages from doing the yoga practice. It's all coming from within. And the more we listen, the closer we get to ourselves. Because we do have a voice that is uniquely ours. And our job is to listen. So many external forces compromise that. And that voice is often just a whisper. So the more we listen to the whisper, the louder it might get. And then there's the potential to really know our essential selves. So with hands together in prayer, feel the energy generating from hand to hand. Lovely energy, heat, whatever you want to call it or refer to it as. Thumbs into your eye sockets. I just love to imagine that my thumb pads are a little seat, a little cushion for that higher self or that essential self who has a voice if only we listen. So even making that connection by sending your attention to your third eye or the seat of our higher selves. And then letting that being emanate its unique, wonderful energy out through your fingers into the world and as far out to the edges of the universe, which are infinite. So physically we're finite, but mentally we're infinite. Keep the thumbs together, bring hands over heart, freedom. The more you make that connection, the more you're able to interact with that deeper self of yours, the freer you are. And then bring hands right in front of you with your palms turned upward in a gesture of giving back or receiving or both. Namaste.